Bring on the bling. In this video, we are going to create this gorgeous applique using metallic variegated thread, and the pictures don't do it justice. And I'm going to show you guys the secret to using metallic thread so your machine loves it. All right, let's get into it. This design was created by Nadia Klein and it got a lot of attention, so I thought I'd recreate it with her permission, of course, and show you guys how easy it is to create amazing designs. So I'm going to do this in Hatch, but you can do this in any software, and I will try to call out what the simple tools are to help you along and where you can find them. And the first thing we are going to do is add lettering. So wherever your lettering is in your software, that's fine. And we're just going to do the same letter. We're going to do the letter S, and there it is. That's kind of small, but we're going to work on that. In Hatch, you can filter the font. So I'm going to go for a true type font because it doesn't really matter how it's going to stitch out because we're only going to use it for an outline. So by switching that, it makes it easier to find them. So I left type, so true type, there we go. Now it'll work. So you can pick a font like this with a nice, this is the serif part. That would look good. Let's see. You can go through them all. I was just kind of thinking of a, a classic one. And we got to keep in mind when you're picking the font, you can pick a font that's inside the software, but you want it to be thick enough so that it is going to look great. Now that may be too thick, but it's still okay. Ignore the satin stitches splitting and everything because we're not going to stitch it out like this. Okay, so I've picked the letter that I want. I have sized it to, let's see, 5 by 7. We could make it a little bit bigger, but we'll wait a sec for that. And all I did was change the stitching to tatami stitch just so we can see it a little bit better. We don't have to worry about it right now. Like I said, we're not stitching this part out, but I just find it hard to look at the really long satin stitches when you pull it this big. So what we want to do is we want to create an outline. So in your software, you should be able to outline or offset. You can look for that. And here we go, create outlines and offset. So an outline is right on the line. So for this first piece, we want it to be an outline. So I'm just going to select outline and click OK. And there you have your outline. So now we are going to delete this. So now we have our outline, and that's what we're going to build on. So the first step that we're going to do, because this is applique, of course. So the first step that we're going to do is our placement stitch. And we're going to stitch this down. I did it on felt for mine. And then we are going to, once this is done stitching out, then we are going to place the fabric. And I use some fabric. It's called lame, L-A-M-E. I say lame in my head because why not? That's what it looks like to me. And it's thin and shiny and absolutely gorgeous. It looks amazing with contrasting threads on it. So black looks really nice with that. So once we put that down, we want this to stitch down in the exact same spot. So I'm going to go copy, because we want to copy that, and paste it. And then I'm going to change the color because we need our machines to stop between the two. So now we've got it placement, and then of course we have it's stitching it down. So the next step that we want is, after we cut it out, we want a little zigzag going on. So we are just simply going to paste again, and then we are going to change it to zigzag, which is right here. Now that is a bit tight for me. I don't really like it. So I'm going to take off all the underlay and the pull comp because we don't need it on this one. So let's go, let's see, spacing. I've got it in inches. I could probably change it to metric and make it a little bit easier. So make sure you select the right one again. I'm going to change it to something bright so we can see what we're doing. The spacing, we want it to be 3 or 4 millimeters. So let's try 3 and you can see that's pretty good. That's not bad. Or you could do 4. Somewhere around there, I think looks fantastic. So that is our next step. And so our fabric's all tacked down. Now, if you look in the original design, it has these gorgeous lines going through it that just adds it another effect to it. And that's easy enough to do now that we have our fabric all down. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to paste again, and we're going to paste one more, but we're going to change this to fill stitch. I know that looks kind of crazy right there, but we're going to fix it. First thing we need to do is take off all the underlay and pull comp. I don't want any of that on it. And the big thing about this one is that we are going to change the spacing. So all it is a tatami stitch with a lot of spacing. So the number we want there is around 10. But if you want them further apart, then you can do 11. Either way, it'll look good. It just depends on what you like. And make sure down here to the right, make sure you have travel on edge, because if you don't have it, look what happens. It makes a little bit of a mess where it's traveling. So we want it to travel on edge so we have a nice, neat finish. So, okay, this is looking great so far, and so far it's quite easy to do. So let's do the next step, and it is a really cute motif stitch around it that just really adds to the design. It really makes it great. So guess what we're going to do? You're right, let's do a paste. Now, the thing with this one is we want it to be just inside. We want it to be just inside. So you can do it a couple ways. So you can very carefully digitize it and leave the right kind of margin, making sure, of course, that you leave enough room for our satin stitches. Or you can do this really easy trick using outlines and offsets. Now this time we don't need an outline, we do need an offset. And if you look here, I already have it set up. You can do minus. So it's going to, instead of being an offset, which is off the object, it's going to be kind of like an inset. So it's inset, and this will save you a ton of time. So what I'm doing here is I just put minus and minus 3 millimeters. All right, here I showed you why you have to pick a thicker letter. Now I just filled in our last block just so you can see this better, and I did a minus offset, and that's what happened because it's too thin here to make it consistent. So we end up with all these, you know, artifacts that don't actually attach. So I'm just going to delete those. I'm going to click back on here, and I'm going to go to offsets, and I'm going to change this to minus 3.00 and hit enter. And now look what you have. So I'm going to delete this. This was just so you could see it easier. And we have our perfect line. So if you look here, you can see that that may be close together. You're just going to have to be careful what motif you pick. So now that we've got our inside line looking fantastic, let's change it to a motif stitch. And again, obviously something like that is just simply not going to work. Let's go to single motifs. Now you could do something like that, but I don't like how close they are there. Now let's undo that one because I moved it by accident. Undo move, Control Z. All right, so let's try this again. Here we are. So you're going to have to be kind of careful what you pick. and we can resize everything. I wondered if something like that, now it's too crossed over again, although that is really cool. You could play around with the spacing and that would look really neat if they crossed over exactly. But other than that, no. Let me move my selections over here so we can all see it. Just something simple to add a little bit of bling to what you're doing. Now, this is another good reason to make sure you have the right size of everything, because we don't want really small motif stitches. It doesn't look very good. See, something like that, I think I might do that one. That's Kite 10. And you will have this in any software. I like the space between it, and I like the space between here, and I think that works very nicely. Doesn't that look pretty? It's so gorgeous when you stitch it out. Now, if you want less space in between there, you can. I put mine a little bit closer, and I really liked it. So, okay, now we've done our decoration stitches, we've done our motif stitches, and now we have to finish off our applique. So guess what? Paste. We're going to paste. There we go. And for this one, we are going to change it to a satin stitch. Satin stitch right there. And boom, we are done. So the thing to watch for, and it's perfect, look, just touching or just a little bit out, I think that's fantastic. Now, if you wanted, you could do another decorative stitch on the top, but I used metallic variegated thread on mine, so it, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overdo it at all. So I thought this looked fantastic. So this is how you put it together, and it's basically, an outline and a copy and then paste and then change it. And I think it looks fantastic. And of course, you could do this with any letter. You could do it with fancy letters, as long as there's enough space to do everything you want in between. This one is close, but it works. And don't forget to watch towards the end where we talk about using metallic thread. I did not have any problems with my metallic thread, and it's because of how I set it up. Metallic thread is kind of weird stuff. Most people have a hard time using it, but if you do it this way, you won't have any issues. All right, off to the machine. All right, here we are at the machine doing the outline. Of course, this is in fast motion so we can see what we're doing. I'm using felt. There's that gorgeous lame stuff. I love it. I could have maybe flattened it out a little bit better, but the video camera doesn't show the sparkle and the shine of this well enough. It's amazing. So once that's tacked down, of course, trim it out. And if you're using this type of fabric, take your time, because it's kind of weird and it's kind of, metallic-y, and it makes like a ripping sound when you cut it. And you can see on the black felt that I have a whole bunch of remnants all over the place. Yeah, that was fun. All right, so zigzag it down. I did tidy up the cutting a bit. And now let's do our variegated metallic thread. This stuff is gorgeous. I'm telling you, absolutely gorgeous. And it looks fantastic. I think even on black, it would look really incredible. But with the gold lame behind it, it's absolutely fantastic. I just sat and watched it stitch out. All right, so we've done our decorative lines, and now we are doing our motif stitch, just the little extra bling that makes it look really good. And again, we're doing it nice and fast. Once that's done, we're going to do a little bit of underlay, and our gorgeous satin stitches are now starting. Isn't that great? While that's stitching out, let's talk about the metallic thread. Now, most people do this, that they just put it on and they put a lid on, or they put a cover over it, and it's gonna have a hard time doing it. You could see that the thread is kind of twisty up there, and you could see at the top there it actually crosses over and it moves all the time, and you're going to end up with broken needles or troubles. And this is the problem that everybody has. So what is the solution to keep your machine going smoothly? Don't have a cup of coffee, but use the cup. And that's all you have to do. Now, on the Dream Machine, do not put it over to the right, because that's where your turning wheel is and you'll make a mess if you get it caught. So literally just put it in a cup, and see, that gets rid of the twist. So I've done everything the same except for I just put it in a cup. And I was able to stitch this whole design straight up without any problems. So that is the key to metallic thread, is let it unwind before you get it, down to your needle. So a cup works perfectly, and it is an easy, fast solution. Now, this design is looking amazing. It is bling. It is beautiful. The variegated thread, metallic thread, is from Gunold, and it is absolutely stunning. I am so happy with it. And again, the pictures don't show it justice, but I'll try to do some better pictures. It's hard to get the sparkle going on, but the colors, there's a mint green, there's a gold, and there's kind of a different like orangey color on it, and it looks amazing. I can't wait to play with this even more. It's incredible. So let's check out the reveal photos and see everything close up so you can get the idea about the metallic thread. Again, we don't see the shine, but look at the colors in there. A little bit of pink, a little bit of blue, a little bit of green, a little bit of gold. It's honestly stunning. So thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!